99.1 Mike FM. It is the Mike Taylor Show, and this is what we're going to talk about. It's pretty painful, and it's local, and it's about awareness for what your kids are doing online, because a lot of people have no idea what their kids are doing. I have Suzanne Riddle on the line, and Suzanne, can you tell me a little bit about the awareness and why you're trying to reach people this morning to let them know that their kids might be doing things online that you have no idea about?
Yes. So my son, Matthew, he was only 16. We were trying to be very good parents with him. I caught him in a chat room, and we tried to tell him the warnings and the dangers of being in a chat, because in a chat room you do not know who you're talking to. You can talk to a complete stranger. It could be a 35-year-old on the other end that, who knows? And we had told him no more chat rooms. Well, after this, we did not know that he was able to get on his phone and be in these chat rooms, and we had no idea, and we didn't check it. We didn't think to check it. So he does this all the time when he's not at work. And there's just so many things. So he was involved in several different groups. I'm not here to point out one particular group, but in these groups, some of them just are very hateful in the way that they gang up on kids and the way that they talk to kids. They bully kids. They want them to do stuff and then post it that they did it, and just on and on. I mean, it is just unbelievable. I had no idea that this was happening. And then, on top of this, Matthew, his granddaddy passed away last year, my dad, and he basically raised him. It got to be so much that Matthew had to come live with me because he could not deal with my dad's grief. And so he's dealing with this too. Matthew is really big in making his music, and he was a rapper. So on these groups, he would rap all these songs and make all these songs. And after, I hope that I'm allowed to say this on the radio, my son took his own life on Saturday. After the fact, I went through his phone to get answers, and this is when I realized everything that was happening in the chat rooms. I was able to look at his music and his lyrics, and he had been dealing with very deep depression after my dad died. In the past 3 months, it even went deeper. And then, on top of all of this, with the coronavirus, my son had become very active in church and in youth group. And then whenever the coronavirus hit, it took it all away, and he was just struggling, and he didn't know how to get out, and he didn't want to tell anybody. And one of his last songs was talking about he had something in his head, and he couldn't get it out, and he didn't want it to go away. He wanted to keep it. But then he also talked about how kids were picking on him, and he was being bullied, and he thought he was fat, and he thought that nobody liked him. And so, I mean, just reading all the posts from the chat rooms, he was bullied in the chat rooms. They say awful stuff. They say stuff that I do not want to say on here because it was so bad. And I just want to let other parents know to check what your kids are doing. Check what they're doing on the computer. Check what they're doing on the phone. I mean, Matthew, he didn't let anybody know he was depressed. He didn't say anything. Talk to your kids. Talk to them. Ask them.
And I just want to add, this is local. This is right here in Kerrville and Ingram area.
Yes, we live in Ingram. Yes. So, I mean, I just want parents to be aware, if this message can save if this message can save one kid from doing what my kid did, it's going to be worth it. I just, just be aware, check, ask questions.
Find out what's going on in your kid's life,
Yes.
Go through their computer, go through their phones, and make sure that everything is good on that end.
Yes.
And you might find out a lot about your kid that your kid might not even want to tell anybody, and it might save their life.
Yeah, that's what happened in this situation. He was too afraid to tell any family member what was going on, so he did his emotions through his music, and he didn't want the family to hear his music because it was rap music, and he was afraid that the family would not approve because he wanted to be a rapper. So, I don't know. Like I said, we had no warning, no signs until after the fact. And I start digging through his stuff, and then I find it there.
Oh. Well, our prayers are with your family.
I really appreciate that.
And you've had a lot of support from online communities after all this too, haven't you?
Yes, sir. Actually, my right before my brother set a GoFundMe page up, we had went into one of the chat room groups that he was involved in, and they have set up a memorial for Matthew, and there is just hundreds upon hundreds of messages coming on there saying, I'm sorry what I said to him. I wish I wouldn't have bullied him. I wish I wouldn't have pushed him. I wish I wouldn't have said this to him. And there was one rapper on there, I cannot remember the name, I'm sorry, but it was Matthew's idol. Matthew worshipped him. And he is supposed to be making a CD in Matthew's honor.
Man, it's a tough thing.
It is.
It's a very tough thing. Suzanne, if you could talk to any parent out there, to let them know what they can do to help prevent something like this, what would it be?
The first thing, straight off, be aware of what your kids are doing on their computer and even their cell phones. It's both of them. And then, the second thing, talk to them. Talk to them. Ask them questions. Be as open as you can so they feel comfortable talking to you. Or even if they don't feel comfortable talking to you, give them the name or number of somebody else, maybe that's outside the family, and say, if you need to talk, call this person. That would be what I would want another parent to know. So that way maybe they can prevent this from happening to somebody else.
And there's also a GoFundMe page set up. Yes,
sir.
It's actually, we shared it on the 99.1 Mike FM page last night on the Facebook page. It's called In Memory of Matthew Dylan Neal. And so if anybody wants to go to that page and donate this morning, you can definitely do that as well. So thank you for calling in, Suzanne, and you're always welcome on the show. Let's make people aware. Let's you're always welcome on the show, and let's see if we can help some people here.
Okay, thank you so much for letting me tell Matthew's story. I really appreciate it, and I really hope that this can save another life.
Thank you, Suzanne, and God bless.
God bless you too.
Banderas new